The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly before Grand Admiral Daho's eyes as he stood tall and proud on the command bridge of the Star Sovereign. His perfectly pressed black uniform gleamed under the soft blue light of the holographic displays surrounding him. The massive viewscreen before him showed Earth, a jewel-like planet of swirling blue oceans and green continents wrapped in wispy white clouds. Daho's thin lips curved into a smile as he watched the primitive satellites cluttering Earth's orbit. Most were communications devices, with a few crude observation platforms mixed in. The humans had barely managed to reach their own moon, and their attempts at Mars exploration were painfully slow. Their technology was centuries behind the Empire's capabilities. The bridge crew worked silently at their stations, the only sounds being the soft beeping of instruments and the low hum of the ship's quantum drive. The Star Sovereign was the pride of the Imperial fleet. 15 kilometers of gleaming metal and advanced technology. It could house over 100,000 crew members and carried enough firepower to reduce a planet's surface to molten slag. Display tactical analysis, Daho ordered, his voice carrying the cultured accent of the Imperial capital. The holographic display shifted, showing detailed scans of Earth's defensive capabilities. Their most advanced weapons were chemical rockets, primitive missiles that could barely reach orbit. Their aircraft used combustion engines, and their ground forces relied on basic projectile weapons and crude armored vehicles. Commander Jaiwan approached from her tactical station, her boots clicking softly on the polished deck. She was young for her rank, but her tactical brilliance had earned her position as second in command of the invasion fleet. "Admiral, the initial scans are complete. We've detected no energy shields, no particle weapons, and no FTL capabilities. Their most advanced military installation appears to be a series of bunkers beneath their continental masses. Primitive bunkers against our orbital weaponry." Daho chuckled softly. "They might as well hide in caves." He turned to face the tactical display, studying the approach vectors. The invasion fleet consisted of 5,000 warships. Massive overkill for such a backward world, but the Emperor had insisted on an overwhelming show of force. "Prepare the fleet for approach vector," he commanded. "These humans won't know what hit them. Signal all ships to maintain formation Delta 7. I want them to see our full strength before they surrender." Jaiwan nodded crisply, her fingers dancing over her control panel. "The invasion fleet stands ready, Admiral. All ships report combat readiness at optimal levels. Our scans show their most advanced weapons are chemical rockets. This will be a simple conquest." Daho walked to the front of the bridge, clasping his hands behind his back as he gazed at the blue planet. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds over its 10,000-year history, but Earth would be his first personal conquest. The Emperor himself had chosen him for this mission, and success would guarantee his position among the Imperial elite. "Begin recording," he said, straightening his already perfect posture. "To His Imperial Majesty, Master of 1,000 Suns, Lord of the 7 Spiral Arms, I, Grand Admiral Daho, send greetings. The primitive world designated Earth lies before us. Their technology is barely beyond the industrial age, and they possess no significant defensive capabilities. I anticipate their surrender within hours of our arrival. The Empire's flag will fly over another world before this day ends." He ended the recording and turned to Jaiwan. "Prepare the ultimatum broadcast. Use their primary languages and communication methods. Let them know resistance is futile, but surrender will be met with mercy." As his crew carried out his orders, Daho allowed himself to imagine the celebrations that would follow this victory. His name would be recorded in Imperial history as the commander who brought Earth into the fold. Perhaps the Emperor would grant him governorship of this sector. The tactical display updated, showing the fleet's formation. A massive wall of warships stretching across space like a metal cloud. Each vessel was a masterpiece of Imperial engineering, capable of reducing continents to ash. The humans' primitive sensors would be overwhelmed by the sight. "Sir," Jaiwan reported, "the fleet is in position. All ships report ready for the approach. Shall we begin? Daeho nodded slowly, savoring the moment. Commence approach. Standard conquest formation. Let them see their doom approaching. He smiled again, imagining the panic that would spread across Earth as their primitive instruments detected the massive fleet moving toward them. Signal all ships. The conquest of Earth begins now. The massive engines of 5,000 warships flared to life, their golden light illuminating the darkness of space. The Imperial fleet began its advance toward Earth, moving with perfect precision, every ship maintaining its exact position in the formation. It was a display of power meant to crush any thought of resistance before the first shot was fired. Little did Grand Admiral Daeho know that his careful plans and overwhelming force were about to encounter something beyond his comprehension. As he stood proudly on his bridge, confident in his impending victory, the humans he so casually dismissed were preparing a surprise that would shake the Empire to its very foundations. Deep within Mount Cheyenne's reinforced chambers, Director Hanja leaned back in his chair, a subtle smile playing across his face as he watched the Imperial transmission unfold on the massive display screen. The alien commander's voice boomed through the advanced sound system, speaking perfect Earth standard with an accent that seemed almost comically pompous. People of Earth, this is Grand Admiral Daeho of the Imperial fleet. Your primitive civilization has been chosen to join our glorious empire. Surrender now, and you will be granted the mercy of swift incorporation into our domain. Resist, and your world will burn. Around the circular obsidian table, 12 representatives of Earth's unified government sat in their high-backed chairs, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. None showed even a hint of concern. Defense Minister Sumai, a woman whose calm demeanor had guided Earth through countless crises, tapped her temple gently, activating her neural interface. Deep beneath the planet's surface, machinery that predated modern civilization hummed to life. The sound resonated through the mountain's core, a deep vibration that spoke of power beyond Imperial understanding. In hidden chambers across the globe, similar systems awakened from their long slumber. Their fleet formation is impressive, noted General Kang from his position at the table. His weathered face reflected decades of military experience. 5,000 ships, arranged in perfect attack positions. They've clearly done this before. Han Jie stood and walked to the central hologram, which showed the Imperial fleet's approach in real time. Their ships gleamed like stars against the darkness of space, each one a masterpiece of engineering that would have been terrifying to a truly primitive civilization. Should we show them? Han Jie asked, his voice carrying the hint of anticipation. He gestured to the tactical display, where dozens of hidden defense platforms waited silently in their quantum-shifted states, invisible to Imperial sensors. Not yet, Sumai replied, her fingers dancing through the air as she manipulated holographic controls only she could see through her neural interface. Let them come closer. Let them think their victory is assured. She paused, studying the fleet's approach vector. They're so confident, they haven't even deployed scout ships. The room's atmosphere remained remarkably relaxed despite the imminent invasion. Ambassador Li sipped calmly from a cup of tea, his aged face creased with amusement. I must admit, their ultimatum is quite well crafted. The translation matrix they're using is impressive. They'd had practice, Minister Park added, checking data streams flowing through her neural display. According to the information we've gathered, they've conquered thousands of worlds this way. Show up with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and rely on shock and awe to prevent resistance. Han Jie watched as more data flowed across his own neural interface. Earth's hidden sensors were analyzing every aspect of the Imperial fleet. Their shield frequencies, weapon systems, communication protocols, and drive signatures, all of it was being cataloged and processed by quantum computers that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Defense grid status, he asked, though he could see the information himself. It was an old habit from his military days. Verbal confirmation of critical systems. All systems nominal. Sumai confirmed. Quantum shields are phase-locked and ready. Defensive platforms are powered but in ghost state. Ground-based cannons are charged and synchronized. She smiled slightly. They won't see anything until it's far too late. The room's lighting shifted subtly as power demands increased across the global defense network. Beneath every continent, machines that looked more like art than technology continued their ancient vigil, protecting a humanity that had long since surpassed their creators. Incoming transmission from Luna Base, announced the AI interface. Chief Scientist Min Su reports the quantum core is at full capacity. They're ready whenever we give the word. Han Jay nodded, studying the tactical display again. The Imperial fleet had passed Mars orbit and was maintaining their perfect formation. Their confidence was almost admirable. They truly believed they were dealing with a helpless, primitive world. You know, Ambassador Li said thoughtfully, we could just show them our true capabilities now. Save everyone some time. Su Mei shook her head, her eyes tracking data only she could see. The Emperor needs to learn a lesson. The fleet's destruction must be absolute and undeniable. When we strike, there can be no question about Earth's power. Han Jay returned to his seat, watching as the Imperial fleet drew closer to their doom. Humanity had hidden its true nature for centuries, developing technologies that operated on principles the Empire couldn't even detect, let alone understand. While other civilizations reached for the stars with conventional drives and energy weapons, Earth had taken a different path. Tactical analysis suggests they'll reach optimal range in 47 minutes, General Kang reported. Their current formation places 98% of their ships within our primary engagement envelope. The representatives continued their calm discussion as the greatest invasion fleet in Imperial history approached Earth, none of them showing the slightest concern about the 5,000 warships bearing down on their planet. They had prepared for this moment for generations, hiding their true capabilities behind a carefully crafted facade of primitive technology. Soon, very soon, the Empire would learn why humanity had chosen isolation. It hadn't been out of fear or weakness, but wisdom and mercy. Commander Jai-1 moved gracefully through the Star Sovereign's bridge, her steps precise as she monitored the fleet's approach toward Earth. The red planet Mars drifted past their starboard side, its rusty surface a stark contrast to the gleaming metal of 5,000 Imperial warships arranged in perfect attack formation. Each vessel's position had been calculated to maximize both tactical advantage and psychological impact. Formation integrity at 100%, she announced, her voice carrying across the hushed bridge. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, their fingers dancing across control panels as they maintained the fleet's precise positioning. All ships reporting optimal status. Through the massive view screen, Earth grew steadily larger. The blue planet seemed peaceful, almost innocent, its surface partially hidden behind swirling white clouds. G1's enhanced vision could pick out the crude satellites and space stations orbiting the planet, their primitive construction almost painful to observe. Admiral, she reported, turning to face Daho, our deep scans confirm initial readings. No defensive installations detected beyond their basic orbital platforms. Their space stations are attempting to hide behind their moon. She allowed herself a small smile. Their attempted concealment is rather primitive. Daho barely acknowledged the report, his attention focused on the tactical displays showing their approach vector. Victory was assured. The humans hadn't even attempted to mount a defense. Their orbital facilities were scrambling like insects, their crude chemical rockets carrying personnel to what they apparently thought were safe positions behind their moon. Pathetic, one of the sensor operators muttered, watching the humans' frantic movements. They're still using radio waves for communication. Jai-1 moved to the central tactical station, reviewing the incoming data streams. The humans' most advanced weapons appeared to be nuclear-tipped missiles, dangerous to themselves, perhaps, but utterly useless against Imperial shields. Their space stations carried no weapons at all, and their satellites were limited to communication and observation functions. Fleet positions optimal, she announced. Beginning final approach sequence. All ships maintaining perfect formation. The massive wall of warships moved as one, their synchronized drives painting space with golden light. Time to optimal firing range. 32 minutes. Through her neural implants, Jai-1 could feel the excitement building among the crew. Many were young, serving in their first conquest mission. They had trained extensively, studied historical records of previous Imperial expansions, but nothing quite compared to the real thing. Commander Daho called, finally showing interest in the proceedings. Prepare the demonstration package. When we reach firing range, I want to show them exactly what they're facing. Yes, Admiral. Jai-1 began programming the sequence. The demonstration would target several of Earth's uninhabited areas, showing the humans just a fraction of their weapons capabilities. Mountains would be vaporized, and seas would boil. It was a standard Imperial tactic. Convince the primitive species to surrender before any valuable resources were damaged. The fleet continued its inexorable advance, maintaining perfect formation. Each ship was a masterpiece of Imperial engineering, carrying weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the fury of a sun. Against such power, Earth's defenses were less than nothing. Sir, one of the sensor operators called out, we're detecting increased power signatures from their lunar installations. Jai-1 checked the readings herself. Just their primitive fission reactors powering up, probably trying to boost their sensor range. She shook her head slightly. Their technology is barely past the atomic age. The bridge crew continued their work with professional detachment, though Jai-1 could sense their growing anticipation. Soon, they would demonstrate the Empire's might, and another world would join their glorious civilization. It was the natural order of things. Launch probe drones, she ordered. Standard conquest pattern. Let's get a detailed surface scan before the demonstration. Hundreds of small drones detached from the fleet, their sensors probing Earth's surface for any signs of hidden defenses or valuable resources. The drones' first reports began flowing in, confirming what they already knew. Earth's military forces were restricted to the surface and near orbit. Their weapons were chemical and nuclear, their vehicles powered by primitive combustion engines. Their most advanced computers used basic binary systems. Admiral, Jai-1 reported, the Conquest database has been updated with preliminary drone data. Recommended targets have been identified for the demonstration package. Daho nodded, his attention still focused on the tactical displays. Victory was so certain that he had already begun composing his report to the Emperor. This conquest would be recorded as one of the smoothest in Imperial history. The fleet crossed the halfway point to optimal firing range, their formation still perfect. Earth grew larger in their view screens, its blue oceans and green continents now clearly visible. Somewhere on that surface, G1 knew, the humans were watching their approach, perhaps finally understanding the futility of resistance. Signal from the Earth's governments, a communication officer announced. They're requesting more time to consider our ultimatum. Jai-1 allowed herself another small smile. It was always the same with primitive species. Denial, then panic, then desperate attempts to delay the inevitable. But the Empire's path was clear. Earth would join their civilization, willingly or not. The fleet maintained its steady advance, 5,000 warships moving as one toward their unsuspecting target. None of the crew showed the slightest concern. None of them questioned their victory, and none of them noticed the subtle distortions in space around their ships, the almost imperceptible shifts in quantum fields that might have warned them of what was to come. Within the crystalline chambers of Luna Base, hidden 2 kilometers beneath the moon's surface, Chief Scientist Min-Su stood before the quantum core. The massive device pulsed with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space, its crystalline structure extending through multiple dimensions simultaneously. To an untrained eye, the core would have appeared to be an art installation, a 20-meter sphere of shifting light and impossible geometries. Initiating final power sequence, Min-Su announced, her fingers dancing through holographic controls that floated in the air around her. The quantum core's rhythm change, its multidimensional harmonics spreading through the base's structure, primary containment field stable, secondary barriers holding. Through her neural interface, Min-Su monitored thousands of data streams flowing from Earth's hidden defense network. The technology that humanity had kept secret for centuries was awakening. Scattered across Earth's orbit, quantum-shifted satellites emerged partially from their dimensional pockets, still invisible to conventional sensors but ready to act. Status report. Director Han Jae's voice came through her neural link, accompanied by his holographic presence in the chamber. All systems nominal, she reported, watching as the quantum core's power output climbed steadily. The grid is phase-locked and ready. Defense platforms are synchronized. She paused, checking another data stream. The Imperial fleet hasn't detected anything unusual. Their scans are still showing exactly what we want them to see. The quantum core's light pulsed faster as it channeled energy that didn't technically exist in normal spacetime. Humanity had discovered this technology centuries ago, hidden in ancient ruins deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. While other civilizations focused on conventional physics, humanity had taken a different path. Engineering team reports ready, called out Senior Engineer Kim from his station. Power distribution networks are stable. Quantum shields are harmonized across all frequencies. His hands moved through his own set of holographic controls, fine-tuning systems that defied conventional physics. Min-Su walked around the quantum core, her movements deliberate as she personally verified each system's status. The technology they were about to unleash had never been used on this scale before. Theoretical models suggested it would work perfectly, but theory and practice weren't always the same thing. Lunar Defense Grid Online, reported Defense Coordinator Park through the neural network. All installations show green status. Quantum torpedoes are primed and phase-locked. The weapons she referred to didn't exist in normal space until the moment they were fired, making them impossible to detect or defend against. Through her neural interface, Min-Su could see the Imperial fleet approaching Earth. Their formation was impressive, their technology advanced by conventional standards. But they were children playing with toys, unaware that they were about to encounter something far beyond their understanding. Final systems check, she ordered, her voice carrying throughout Luna Base. I want verification on all quantum harmonics. One mistake in the phase lock sequence could collapse the entire grid. Engineers and scientists throughout the base responded, each confirming their system's readiness. The technology they controlled was the result of centuries of development, refined and improved upon by generations of humanity's brightest minds. Director Min-Su reported, "We're ready to proceed on your command. The grid can be fully activated within 3 seconds of your order." Han Jae's hologram nodded, his expression serious. "Excellent work, Chief Scientist. Continue monitoring the Imperial fleet's approach. Let them think their sensors are telling them everything they need to know." In orbit around Earth, countless defense platforms waited in their quantum-shifted state, invisible and untouchable. The technology they contained would have seemed like magic to the Imperial fleet's sensors, if they could detect them at all. Each platform was a marvel of engineering, capable of channeling powers that the Empire's scientists had never even theorized. "Imperial fleet passing fourth marker," announced Tactical Officer Lee. "Their confidence is remarkable. They haven't even deployed their full sensor array." Min-Su allowed herself a small smile as she watched the fleet's approach through multiple dimensional layers. The Empire's ships were impressive by conventional standards. Their energy shields were strong, their weapons powerful, their drives efficient. But they existed solely in normal spacetime, making them almost painfully vulnerable to what was coming. "Power levels optimal," she reported, checking another stream of data. "Quantum harmonics are stable across all frequencies. The grid is ready to activate on your command, Director." The quantum core's pulse matched the rhythm of Earth's hidden defenses, its power spreading through networks that existed between the moments of normal time. Humanity had hidden its true capabilities for centuries, presenting a carefully crafted image of a developing civilization, while secretly mastering technologies that operated on principles the Empire couldn't comprehend. They're still running surface scans, Engineer Kim noted with amusement. Their probes are so proud of detecting our nuclear reactors. Min Su nodded, watching the Imperial drones through quantum-shifted sensors. The Empire's technology was searching for threats they could understand. Energy shields, particle weapons, antimatter drives. They had no way to detect the dimensional barriers and quantum-locked weapons that surrounded Earth. All stations maintain current status, she ordered. Let them come a bit closer. When we reveal ourselves, I want there to be no possibility of escape. She turned back to the quantum core, its impossible colors reflecting in her eyes. Humanity has waited centuries for this moment. Let's make it count. The Imperial fleet crossed the invisible line in space that humanity had designated as their final threshold, their formations still maintaining perfect geometric precision. 5,000 warships moved as one, their golden energy signatures blazing against the backdrop of space like an artificial constellation. In the command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, Defense Minister Sumai watched the tactical display with the calm demeanor of someone about to spring a carefully laid trap. She gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod to Director Hanjai. They've crossed the line. All ships are within the primary engagement zone. The massive holographic display showed the Imperial fleet in perfect detail, their ships rendered in multiple spectrum analyses. Every vessel was tagged with targeting data, their shield frequencies mapped, their weapon systems analyzed, their crew complements calculated down to the last person. Quantum grid status? Hanjay asked, his voice carrying through the neural network to all command centers worldwide. Grid is hot and locked. Min Su's voice came back from Luna Base. All platforms are synchronized. Phase variance is 0.001, well within acceptable parameters. There was a hint of pride in her voice. Targeting solutions are confirmed for all Imperial vessels. We can end this with a single command. Aboard the Star Sovereign, Grand Admiral Daho stood before a recording drone, his uniform perfect, his posture rigid with pride. To His Imperial Majesty, he began, I am pleased to report that the conquest of Earth proceeds exactly as planned. Their primitive defenses err. Admiral, Commander Jae-won interrupted, her voice carrying an unusual note of concern. Something strange is happening with our sensor readings. Daho turned, annoyed at the interruption of his victory message. Explain. Jae-won's fingers moved rapidly across her control panel. The background quantum noise has increased by a factor of 10,000 in the last 3 seconds, and there's some kind of spatial distortion forming around the fleet, but our sensors can't properly analyze it. Back on Earth, Sumai initiated the final sequence. All defense centers, prepare for grid activation. Quantum shields to full power. Phase lock your targeting solutions. Around the planet, hidden installations hummed with power that didn't exist in normal spacetime. The quantum grid, humanity's greatest achievement, prepared to reveal itself to an unsuspecting enemy. On the Star Sovereign's bridge, more alarms began to sound. Admiral, Jae-won called out, real fear entering her voice for the first time. Multiple spatial anomalies detected. Energy readings are off the scale, but they're not reading as energy our sensors understand. Daho strode to the tactical station, his face darkening as he watched impossible readings scroll across the screens. Launch defensive probes. Full sensor sweep. I want to know what's happening. But the Imperial technology, advanced as it was by conventional standards, couldn't comprehend what it was seeing. The quantum grid existed partially outside normal spacetime, operating on principles that Imperial science had never even theorized. All command centers report ready, Sumai announced in the Earth Defense Chamber. Quantum grid is at full power, phase variance holding steady at optimal levels. She turned to Hanjai. Should we show them what humanity is truly capable of? Hanjai nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Execute the trap. Let's give the Empire a lesson they'll never forget. In Luna Base, Min Su stood before the quantum core, its impossible colors pulsing faster as power built up in the grid. Initiating final sequence, she reported. Grid will be fully visible in 3, 2, 1. Aboard the Star Sovereign, J1's eyes widened in shock as new contacts suddenly appeared on her tactical display. Thousands of them, materializing out of nowhere, surrounding the Imperial fleet in a perfect three-dimensional web. Impossible, Daeho shouted, watching as more and more defense platforms seemed to fade into existence around his fleet. Where did they come from? Why didn't we detect them? Admiral, Jai-Won's voice was barely a whisper. These platforms, the energy readings, this technology, it's beyond anything in the Imperial database. They're not just more advanced than us. They're operating on principles we don't even understand. On the Star Sovereign's bridge, crew members watched in silence as Earth's defense platforms became fully visible, their quantum-shifted forms now clear to even conventional sensors. Each platform pulsed with energy that defied Imperial science, a demonstration of power that made their own technology look primitive in comparison. Your ships are unarmed, Han Jay's voice continued. Your crews are safe. We could have destroyed your fleet, but that's not our way. Consider this a lesson. Some worlds are best left alone. Commander Jai-Won stared at her tactical display, which showed only basic power readings now. Admiral, she said quietly, we're detecting quantum energy signatures from Earth's surface. They're stronger than anything we've ever recorded. Their entire planet is protected by technology we can't even understand. Daeho sank back in his command chair, the full reality of his situation finally sinking in. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Empire, had been defeated without a single shot being fired. Earth's defenders had simply reached out and turned off their ships as easily as one might blow out a candle. In the Earth Defense Chamber, Sumai brought up a new tactical display. All Imperial vessels are secured. Their crews are unharmed but completely helpless. Should we proceed with Phase 2? Han Jay nodded, watching as the quantum grid adjusted its configuration. Now it was time to show the Empire exactly what humanity could do when they chose to reveal their full power. The real demonstration was about to begin. Director Han Jay stood before the United Earth Council in the Grand Chamber beneath Geneva, his posture relaxed but commanding. The massive circular room, with its ancient marble columns and modern quantum displays, held representatives from every nation on Earth. Holographic screens showed the disabled Imperial fleet still drifting in high orbit, their once mighty ships now little more than elaborate space debris. The operation was a complete success, Han Jay announced, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. 5,000 Imperial warships neutralized without a single casualty on either side. Their crews are unharmed, though I imagine their pride has suffered considerably. The council members nodded in approval. This was humanity at its best, demonstrating overwhelming power while showing mercy and restraint. The quantum grid still held the Imperial fleet in its grip, their advanced technology rendered useless by forces they couldn't comprehend. And now, Han Jay continued, we send our message to the Imperial homeworld. After centuries of hiding our true capabilities, it's time to show the galaxy who we really are. Defense Minister Sumai stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed the full extent of humanity's hidden empire. Dozens of star systems glowed with soft blue light, each one home to human colonies that had been established using quantum drive technology. While the Empire had expanded through conventional space, humanity had learned to step between the dimensions. The transmission is ready, Sumai announced. All quantum relays are synchronized. The message will reach their capital instantly, bypassing their entire communication network. In the Imperial Palace, 10,000 light-years from Earth, the Emperor sat upon his crystalline throne. For millennia, his civilization had ruled the galaxy through superior technology and overwhelming military might. No species had ever successfully resisted the Empire's expansion. Until now. The message from Earth materialized directly in the throne room, bypassing all Imperial defenses as if they didn't exist. The holographic projection showed Director Han Jie standing calm and confident, his voice clear and unwavering. To His Imperial Majesty, Master of 1,000 Suns, Lord of the 7 Spiral Arms, Earth sends greetings. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your weapons proved useless. Your technology, impressive by conventional standards, could not detect even a fraction of our true capabilities. The Emperor watched in growing disbelief as the message continued, showing images of the disabled Imperial fleet and the quantum defense platforms that had so easily defeated them. We have already colonized a dozen systems beyond your detection. Han Jie's projection continued. We chose isolation not out of weakness, but wisdom. While your civilization focused on expansion through force, we learned to step between dimensions. Your sensors cannot detect our colonies. Your ships cannot reach our worlds. Your weapons cannot harm our people. In the council chamber, Han Jie paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. The next part of the message would determine the future relationship between Earth and the Empire.